Wednesday, February the 18th, 2026. This is the Resource Advisor Cohort call for this month. My name's Pete Irvin. I'm one of the volunteer co-managers of the Resource Advisor Cohort, and we got a really great topic today. We did try, for those of you that that have signed up for and received the announcements for our monthly calls. There's some good information in that email. It's a long one, but there's some good information, not just about today's call, but about some other stuff that's of interest to us in the resource advising world. And with that, without further ado, great presentation today, and we'll welcome your questions and answers at the end of it. You can put them in the chat as we go along, or you can raise your hand after the formal presentation. With that, turn it over to Jess Reisenberg. Take it away, Jess.
Hi, I'm Jess Reisenberg, and we also have Brian on the call as well. We have two course announcements that I just put in the chat, one for the lead READ or REC training, and then a fire arc training as well. And then I will start sharing my screen.
Looks good, Jess. It's up perfect. And I will learn to pronounce your name one of these days.
Think of it like the wine, Riesling, Riesenberg.
Nice, that helps.
So we're here to talk about the resource advisor positions and kind of looking at the past, transitioning into the future for all of the positions, ARC, REC, READ, and REAF. And so kind of outline really quickly what has changed, what is changing, the NWCG and the Resource Advisor Subcommittee. The name change will be RASC or RASC. READ is a position, and so we're trying to move away from the term READ for everyone and anything that has to deal with resource advising. And the committee and subcommittee acronyms are also going to be standardized as well. And so if you're a parent committee, you're going to have a 3-letter acronym. If you're a subcommittee, you're going to have a 4-letter acronym. So that's kind of where the RASC came about instead of READ SC. And then REAF is moving into the PMS 310-1. We have the official homepage there. I'll kind of go through that homepage later on in the presentation. And then we also have M280, which most of you probably know as N9042. N9042 is going to be archived and M280 is going forward. And then kind of the future agency alignment for all positions. That includes ARC, CRISP, formerly COLS, REC, READ, are all going to stay in the federal supplement. And then we're going to see a big draft change. And then READ is moving into 310-1. So a little background on NWCG, which Brian, do you want to about NWCG and our subcommittee?
Sure. And that's, I apologize. I'll be on the call for hopefully most of it, but I'm actually here in Boise for the NWCG annual meeting, and I just skipped out of the first session to be here with y'all. So a lot of this is cut and paste from the NWCG site, but the two priorities I wanted to lay out is that NWCG establishes the Wildland Fire Position Standards, quals, and the performance support capabilities like your training courses, job aids, which was just like the development of M280 here. And their job is to enable these standards, and that everything that goes on contributes to safe, effective, and coordinated national interagency wildland fire operations. And we understand that this is all changing because our interagency, everything is changing right now. And so a lot of this still will be in flux over the next 6 to 8 months. So we're giving you the best information we can today. I'm going to learn more in the next 2 days here that I'll be able to share back with the group. So please ask questions, And if we can't answer them today, we hopefully can as we go on. Go ahead, Jess. You can hit the next. Kind of the READ subcommittee. What's actually funny, I was on to start. I was still one of the initial members that has been able to hang in there, and went back through some history for this. And what's funny is we were actually called the Resource Advising Subcommittee, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, READ came in to replace that. So we're kind of having to undo what was initially done really correctly by calling it the Resource Advising Subcommittee. But the current leadership of our subcommittee is myself as the chair. Evan, who presented last month, is the vice chair. Lost the PowerPoint,
Sorry.
Jess.
Sorry.
And we'll be transitioning. We currently have representation of all DOI agencies, and our chair and vice chair rotate every 2 years. But with that reorganization, all the DOI agencies will be represented by one primary person. As of now, that will continue to be me. So I will be kind of through that transition. So it will help the subcommittee. Just because familiar with the past and the future, I think that'll be a help. Let's see what else. And the composition is changing. Per NWCG right now, there'll be a DOI rep, the U.S. Forest Service rep, the NASF, the National Association of State Foresters, could have 3 reps, but only 1 vote. And we're still trying to figure out to make sure on the Resource Advising Subcommittee that the land management agencies still have a voice. I don't have an answer there yet, how that's going to happen. I hopefully will come out of this week with a better understanding there. Go ahead, Jess. And I guess I'll start this one. I like to say late 20-teens because it kind of floats of when this really started, but the effort to get the REAF position at PMS 310-1 is long. It has a history, but it was a grassroots effort, kind of what was the precursor to the subcommittee. But in May of 2020, the subcommittee was officially formed. They solicited membership in March of that year. The idea was standardization of all the positions, ARC, lead read or REC, read and REAF. And that feedback came from not only internally amongst ourselves, but the folks that supervised us in the field, because what was so frustrating to folks was people's skill set and what they were telling people. You'd go on one incident and be told one thing about managing a resource and go to the forest next door and be told something different. And so there was this really grassroots effort to get standardization. REAF actually began before the subcommittee, and our parent committee, the Interagency Fire Planning Committee, they supported initially READ and REAF being transitioned into 310-1, and then we attempted all. We get asked the question, why REC? Like, why isn't it real or anything else like that? That mnemonic existed in the all-hazard world, the DOI all-hazard world. They did not want to create a new one, so that one was forced upon us. We had no say in that, and it's okay. We just, and I think people like to say it differently versus REC, REAC, whatever. I don't think we've standardized that yet, and that one we'll all fight over and laugh about. Because I don't, we joke about being part of the train wreck or whatnot, but I'm fine with whatever, with calling it REC. But many hurdles and hours of hard work by the subcommittee, by a panel of subject matter experts. 6 years it took to get 310-1, or REAF into 310-1. For the time being, REAC, REC, and READ will stay in the federal supplement. With this, it also created the new instructor-led training of M280, the official course for REAF. And we'll get to more on kind of what precipitated it becoming for other positions as well. All right, and then this really made me happy to see this officially. When I shared this with the subcommittee, I actually drew a heart around our little block over there. So we fit under the command section, and you can see our circle kind of sits off to the side. Go ahead, Jess. So this is the flow chart. And just that has all of our qualifications. You can see we kind of don't necessarily, there's not a line directing to us in this structure like some of the other positions, but that's okay. Go ahead, Jess. And you can see now kind of the big changes to make sure you're aware of is that you have to take M280 to become fully qualified unless you were previously qualified. We will get to that. But this position carries a fitness level of moderate. So in the future, if somebody says, I need arduous reefs, you can't order that. You just order a reef, they're going to be moderate. That's the same as like a field observer and doing very similar jobs as far as fitness requirement. Go ahead, Jess. And the kind of creation of M280, Jess and I both were SMEs on the development of M280. So if you hate it, you can blame us. I think it's really cool. I love how it developed. I think you'll enjoy it for those of you that have to take it. If you get the opportunity or qualified and can take it, I would advise it. If it's taught close to your local unit, your supervisor allows it. It's neat how it's set up. But as part of the incident performance training and modernization, IPTM, you've heard kicked around, all the federal positions are going through that to upgrade. There are some courses within NWCG that hadn't seen upgrades in 30 years. And so this is an effort to do over 100 positions across government phased over years. I don't know where the status is with all the positions. They try to do like 16 a year, and now it's down to a few less because that was 10. Yeah. So nuts and bolts of M280, 12 hours of classroom learning. We were actually given 8 initially, and through the development, we got 4 more hours granted to us, which was a pretty big deal. And it's a threaded scenario. So it's days in the life. I wouldn't say a day. You transition through stuff, but it's a building block. And you're going to do things that you would do in the field, in camp, that set you up for success that first time you go out. Few things about it being ILT. We have heard some difficulty, hey, we're used to this whole virtual world we're presenting, and we understand that. But the emphasis came from both NWCG and the agencies to move more to an ILT platform across the board. So that was the direction we were given, and that's the way we went. Your lead instructor must be a fully qualified REAF. And there's a bunch of folks on this call today. You've been a REAF for a while. You're going to be grandfathered in under this process. You'll be able to teach this course. You must oversee the entire presentation of the course, so you have to be there the whole time. You need at least one assistant. It is critical to review the scripts prior to delivering the training. I help deliver the scripts, and I would need to go through them again just to get ready to teach this course, but it's going to make for a better product for your students. And you're going to need 4 working handheld radios with a usable frequency. Work with your home unit so that you hopefully have more of, jokingly, a squirrel channel, so you're not, blasting across your whole district the whole time you're training, probably on a direct frequency, but work with your local agency to do that. Next, Jess.
Yep. And then one other thing I'll say is with your assistant, it's preferable if they are also REAF qualified as well. Otherwise, if they're familiar with medical scenarios too, they could really assist you with the last unit. And so then REAF going forward,
Yeah, go ahead,
as
Jess, you
Brian
continue.
has stated, yeah, if you were fully qualified as a REAF by your agency, you should still be fully qualified going forward. If you're a trainee, you will still be a trainee, you must now follow the new training requirements, and that includes the position task book. We're still getting full clarification on whether or not that means you'll have to take M280 if you've already taken N9042. And this can vary drastically by agencies, depending upon how different training officers are interpreting this transition over. And so if you have any questions on, hey, I've taken N9042, I'm still a trainee, do I need to take M280? The recommendation is talk to your training officer about that, because they're talking about all of this transition at a higher level. And again, it'll vary by agency. And then REAF will only maintain currency for itself, but REAF can maintain currency for REAC, REC, and READ. And then you'll have 5 years to serve as a REAF in order to maintain your qualification. That's also one of the perks of moving into the PMS 310-1, whereas federal supplement, I believe it was every 3 years.
Correct.
And then you'll have to pass the moderate work capacity test or the field test, as we've stated. The field test is the 2-mile walk in 30 minutes while carrying 25 pounds. And then there's also medical requirements regarding which work capacity test you're taking and what level you do, be it light, moderate, or arduous. And so this is kind of one of our favorite slides with you're a new REAF trainee to being fully qualified. As Lynn has so eloquently stated it in the past before, we now have 3 legs of our stool instead of just one leg being the federal supplement. So now in order to be a fully qualified REAF, you'll have the task book completion, you'll have on-the-job training, and you'll have instructor-led training of M280 completion along with all of the other courses. And then one of the unique things about REAF being in the PMS 310-1, you will not have to take M280 in order to go out onto the Fireline as a REAF trainee. You'll have a qualified person with you, which will kind of help. M280, I think, is the only course that you won't have to take prior to being able to go onto the Fireline. And then kind of why are we archiving N9042? NWCG and all the other agencies' efforts are to move it to instructor-led training. And then agencies kind of have agreed that someone who wants to be both a READ and a REAF, they shouldn't have to take 2 separate courses in order to do that, because that can be a hurdle to competency. And then the standardization of the training, with it being an NWCG course with the M280 moniker, helps a lot because the N9042 delivered courses have varied drastically throughout agencies, even throughout different units. And then again, we got the approved 12 hours minimum length. There was a standardized agenda that you go through in order to complete the course. And then this is just more about the future alignment with the federal supplement and PMS 310-1. Again, it's really confusing right now. We're still kind of unwrapping things as we talk, as we've kind of alluded to earlier in this call. We got fresh messaging 30 minutes ago regarding some of these changes. So you guys really are getting the most up-to-date information that we can provide at this time. And then the federal supplement and PMS 310-1 don't currently align with each other right now, and that's primarily with what maintains currency for what. And when we go into each one of the positions, I'll kind of highlight that. but follow the PMS 310-1 for REAF, as that's where that position sits, and follow the federal supplement for all of the other positions, as that's where they sit. And again, 310-1 can maintain currency for federal supplement positions. Federal supplement positions cannot maintain currency for 310-1. A really easy firefighter positions that I think of is ENOP, which is the engine operator one. Cannot maintain currency for engine boss, but engine boss can maintain currency for ENOP. And that's because ENOP is in the federal supplement, whereas engine boss is in the PMS 310-1. And then N9042 has also been removed from ARC, READ, and REC with M280 added. Again, that's just because we don't want people to have to take 2 courses in order to maintain the same position qualifications they have now. But there should be no other changes between 2025 and 2026 as of now. There will be a new draft coming out for the federal supplement kind of around the springtime in 2026. So kind of be on the lookout for that as well. And that's just to get all of the positions in alignment with each other between DOI and Forest Service. And then the unique thing for this year with the federal supplement is there's actually a transition plan as well that came out with the federal supplement for this year, which usually you don't see a transition plan. And so we have REAF is now in the PMS 310-1. We have an official web page that's on NWCG's page. And so this is our home page for it. And we have a brief description of what a resource advisor is, the organizational chart. It's still going to be AD classified as ADJ, so there's no change there for all of you ADs. And then we have the position change history as well. And then we'll just kind of go through all of the pages for it. And so this will be your incident position description for it. And you'll see we have a bunch of subcategories. Those are all standardized for NWCG positions, with the exception of perform resource advisor, Fireline specific duties. And these are also put into our standard stock as well, where all of these bullet points are further fleshed out for you, but this is just kind of a quick snapshot. And then we go on to our standards and references. This is where you can pull up the standards documentation, the position task book, as well as our PMS 313 resource advisor guide, which many of you should hopefully be familiar with. We realize that the edition is 2017 on it, and we wanted to wait to update that document until this position went through into the PMS 310-1.
And I'll add there too, we will have to get direction from our parent committee probably after the late summer to be able to update it, but we're going to ask for that. So it's probably going to be one of the next new tasks of the new formation of the subcommittee. Later in 26, I would say it would get underway.
Yep. And then we also have a bunch of just general references that the SMEs felt as though would be good for resource advisors to have. And so you can click on any of those documents and it'll take you straight to a web page that correlates to it. And then this is just your qualification requirements. This is what's in the PMS 310-1. The training requirements are all of the same basically from the federal supplement, with the exception of N9042 being removed and M280 taking its place. And it's moderate, and you'll notice that REAF doesn't maintain currency for anything other than itself. And then we've also included a couple trainings that will support the knowledge of this that the SMEs felt would be good for resource advisors to take. And I will say, taking S290 myself, I felt like that was a really valuable course to take. And then kind of the new items for it will be the standards document, which you'll see on the left, And then we'll have the task book, which is on the right. And these are meant to work hand in hand with one another. And so what's in the standards doc will help support the task book and what you're signed off on. And you'll kind of notice task books now are more on the skinnier side than what they used to be, because some task books went, I think, from like 30 pages down to 5. And so they've really tried to push on the job learning as well, which is great for us. And then Brian, did you have anything else you wanted to comment on for the REAF position before we move into the federal supplement?
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
I apologize. I'm getting questions from homework.
No worries. So the federal supplement, it was out late January 2026. Usually it comes out late January, early February. You'll notice all of the agency's badges up at the top that support the federal supplement. And then, like I said, for this, we had a transition plan, and this is a one-page transition plan that came out this year. And the 3 things I want to highlight for everyone is responders who are transitioning into the Wildland Fire Service. You will follow your previous bureau's standards in the 2026 federal supplement. Be that you came from BLM into the Wildland Fire Service, MPS into it, Fish and Wildlife, BIA. You'll follow your old agency standards for 2026. And then U.S. Forest Service, you'll just follow your agency standards for 2026. And then the Wildland Fire Service and Forest Service are hoping to get their qualification standards aligned in 2027. Again, with that draft version coming out spring 2026. So look at that, see kind of where the positions are going, and use that as your guide for transitioning for 2027. And then effective 2027, historical recognition will apply to all qualified responders, not to trainees, qualified responders. Those that are qualified will remain qualified. If you are a trainee, you will have to follow the new standard. And new standards will apply to all responders seeking to gain any qualifications after that publication date. So those are the 3 main things that I want to lay out for everyone with the transition plan. And again, I can post this link in the chat too at the end of our presentation. So for federal supplement archaeologist, you'll notice the BLM is kind of the only one that didn't transition with all the other agencies, but I'm warning all of you archaeologists now that's slated to change for 2027. And BLM is slated to go on board with all of the other DOI agencies as well as the Forest Service. And so look at all of these agency-specific requirements that are highlighted under the brown box and follow that for what you are going to be looking at in the future. Otherwise, all other agencies, you have to take your basic 32 or guard school so you can go on to the Fireline without having to follow Chapter 7 of the Red Book. And then you're also going to be fitness level at the moderate. And we have a bunch of these other additional trainings which support the knowledge and skills. And you'll notice the fire archaeology course is listed under there. And that's what we had the flyer for at the beginning of today's presentation. Federal supplement for the READ position. It's pretty much similar to what it was before, but you'll also have to take L180 and S110. Those are both online courses. S110 is like a 15-minute video that basically walks you around what ICP is like. So it's really quick. And L180 was added just to kind of give people who don't typically go on the Fireline some of that kind of background for the human factors that deal with wildland fire. Again, great courses. They're free. They're online. It shouldn't be a hurdle to anything for anyone. And then we'll have the REC position. You'll notice for this, BLM is the only agency that doesn't currently endorse this, but BLM will be a endorsing agency come 2027. At least that's the plan right now moving forward. But for everybody else, that's what you have to look at. ICS 300 might be a course that you'll have to be on the lookout for a little bit more. But you'll notice M280 is not a required course, and that's because all of the positions that lead into this for required experience all have M280 as a course. Yes, REC will replace lead read. REC and lead read are synonyms of each other. So, and then you'll notice that we also have the Resource Advisor Coordinator course listed here under the additional trainings, which supports the development of. That is the other flyer that I posted a link to at the beginning of this meeting. And both of those are free courses and things like that. So, Brian, do you have anything else you would like to add for the federal supplement positions?
I guess there was a question in the chat I was answering about what states should do. The federal supplement positions are just that, federal. State have the option of their own, they can have their own quals for these positions that are in the federal supplement, or they can choose to follow the federal supplement. It is a state by state choice. However, REAF is in PMS 310-1. You have to follow all that. There's no options there.
And most states choose to follow what a majority of the federal agencies do in the federal supplement, just as a kind of FYI. But that's not necessarily true for all states. Just most states choose to follow the federal supplement and whatever a vast majority of the agencies agree to. So with that, we're on open Q&A.
So I'm trying to scroll back as I go up. I see Courtney's question as a fully qualified REAF. Oh, I thought it was, sorry, I thought there was a question there, but yes. So a fully qualified REAF will serve as the trainer for a REAF trainee in the field. Kind of Star Wars fan, you know, that's your Master Jedi and your Padawan. Sorry for the Star Wars nerd. Another question, are the additional trainings which support development required? No, they're just recommended. They are not required training. They're only there to better you as that, filling that position on the line.
Hey, Jess and Brian, Pete Irvin here. Thank you for an excellent presentation. I'll echo what you said, that change is happening. And I guess let's make that plural, right? Changes are happening at so many levels, right? Change is happening within our sphere of resource advising. Change is happening within within and between and among federal agencies and departments. Change is happening at the NWCG level, a major kind of reorganization, restructuring of everything that NWCG touches. So, wow, excellent job. Acknowledging, as Jeff said, and I can just tell you guys are getting messages as you're presenting, and I'm guessing some of those are totally related to what's going on here right now. So thank you. Bigger thank you. Well, thank you for presenting. Thank you even more for your role in the evolution of resource advising, right? In your work with the Resource Advisor Subcommittee, with the grassroots effort prior to that. And we know that you are not the only two folks that were involved and still involved in that. And a bunch of them are on the call today. I'll miss some, but I'd be remiss in not shouting out Lynn Gassaway. I see Dave Callery answering a bunch of questions. Dave, thank you for being on today. Dave is the, I'll get his title wrong. He's the deputy lead for the Forest Service post-fire program, and a part of that is being the National Resource Advisor Coordinator for the Forest Service. Courtney Rowe is on. Courtney's been involved, wearing several different agency hats. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm no good, and thank you to everybody who has both posted questions and answered questions in the chat. I'm no good at all at trying to go all the way back and try to see what's been answered and what hasn't. I'll say one more thing and then maybe kick it back to Jess and Brian if there's some that you're seeing in the chat that haven't been answered yet. There are some questions in the chat about what is PMS 310-1 versus the supplement. And we don't call it that as much anymore, but PMS 310-1, we used to call the handbook. It is officially the NWCG Standards for Wildland Fire Position Qualifications. That's part of the Bible for positions that are full NWCG positions, adopted by NWCG, meaning consistent, uniform across all of the member agencies. It is a big deal for REAF to be moving into PMS 310-1 this year, and it's a result of a ton of hard work by a lot of folks, frustrations, turns, and twists over a number of years, right? There are about 125 or so positions listed in 310-1. The supplement is officially named the Federal Wildland Fire Qualifications Supplement. There are about 125 or 135 more positions listed in the supplement. The supplement is where for positions that are not fully adopted by all of the NWCG agencies, right? So as Jess pointed out, you didn't see the BLM logo on a few of the, like, I call it REAC, but I guess I'm gonna have to go with REAC or REC. REAC, READ, ARC positions, right? They're in the supplement. Not all of the NWCG agencies recognize those. There are some differences within the agencies that recognize them about what they mean, okay? So in my mind, the supplement is not second class. It's just, they're both very valid. PMS 310, the qualifications handbook, I call it, that's for the universal positions. The supplement is for the ones that apply to some agencies, not all, right? And that's, as Jess and Brian have told us, there's change happening in those levels as well, right? So thank y'all. It helps me to remember that there's as many positions in the supplement as there are in 310-1.
All right.
And you can Google both of them. Brian, to you.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's a pile of questions in, and I have about 5 more minutes. Let's see. I'm trying to scroll back through. Question here about stateside. Anyone know if California agencies have a specific system for this? Can we go on a federal fire if our agency does not have any available qualified REAFs to sign our task book? So that would put you, as a REAF trainee, you would go on that incident and be paired with a trainer. So that would give you your opportunity to get things signed. So understand, if you go out as a REAF trainee, there's going to be a REAF on that fire you are going to get paired with, and work with that person, just like any other trainer trainee position on wildland fire. And I will tell you, as you go out as a trainee, I know last week I was out as an engine boss on a prescribed burn. And I had a new firefighter with me, and the first thing I asked was, "Do you have an open task book? Is there things we can work on with you today?" But also go the other way. If you're going out as a trainee and there's 3 or 4 things that you have not been able to get completed, open that dialogue with your trainer right off the day you show up and say, "Hey, these are like 3 or 4 things I really need to do." And hopefully you'll have a good trainer that can set those training opportunities up for you. I would say be proactive in that. Don't wait till the last day, break out a task book. Task books come out on that first couple days so you can make progress through the incident. Are you going to get signed off in one incident? Likely not. Unless you were like almost on the brink and you have ways to prove that. Like I could see it, but it's likely going to take multiple fires, and that's okay, because we want to produce a quality product for the entire wildland fire landscape. I'll
And
keep
then
scrolling here.
I'm going to
And
go
there's
to
hands
one
up.
of the hands up.
Yeah.
Marissa? Oh,
Hey,
Courtney.
I was just going to say, it's on Brian's point of the state things. If you're with a state agency, please check with your state agency leadership. I would not assume that you're immediately moved into the IROC system with a federal agency. So, you know, on the Forest Service side, you would still have to apply to come in as an administratively designated casual hire. So in the state of California, quals for state and local agencies are held by CICCS and CAL FIRE, and it is a quite different system. So please check with your leadership to validate how your quals are going to be represented and what your availability will be like in the ordering system.
Yeah, so Marissa, we'll go to you with your hand up. Thank you for being patient.
No, thank you for doing this. Could you re-clarify the positions that maintain the January 2026 supplement says that READ and REAC maintain currency for REAF, and you had just mentioned REAF only maintains currency for REAF. Did that change really recently?
No,
Is that or
that's
not?
part of, like, things are still a little bit wonky in the federal supplement because they mostly just did a copy and paste from 2025 into 2026. And so some of these will be cleaned up for 2027, but by and large, a federal supplement position cannot maintain currency for a PMS 310-1 position.
Okay,
And
thank you.
so therefore, REAC, REC, READ cannot maintain currency for REAF, but REAF can maintain currency for all of them. By and large, generally speaking. Go to you with your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. My question is about what is the steps now if you want to be a lead, a read, or a rec? How they put that? I mean, because we don't have a task book yet, right?
Yep. All of the ones that are in the federal supplement do not have a task book. Those would be ARC, READ, and REC. You'll go through them just as you would normally in order to get those on your qualification. You can talk to your agency administrator, your FMO, your training officer, and say, hey, this is something that I want to get on my red card. I look at the federal supplement and see what type of courses you need to have and what other qualifications are pertinent to getting that. Whereas REAF,
Okay, great.
you'll open up the task book if you aren't currently qualified, and that's how you can get that as a trainee on your red card.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then Molly, I see you with your hand up as well.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted to echo some questions in the chat about kind of the difficulty of getting trainee assignments. I was on a couple fires last year where we had, you know, like I showed up to one fire where we had 7 archaeologists and 0 trainees, and I was on a couple where it felt like to me we had capacity for trainees, but every time that I asked, it was like, oh, we have enough people, I think we're good. And to me, the question isn't like whether we have enough people, but whether we have the capacity to train people. And yeah, last year I took my first fire assignment in like almost 5 years where I wasn't training someone. And so it was just weird to me to see people, you know, alone out on like qualified reefs alone out on the fire line who weren't actively training someone. And so I'm curious if this kind of new structure is going to help motivate people to accept trainees or to provide some kind of framework for getting them out there or change the culture a little bit, and whether those discussions are being had at a higher level.
For the REAF position, it should change it because it's now an official PMS 310-1 position. Whereas for federal supplement, some agencies just don't even do trainees for that. And they say, well, you've taken everything on there that says that you're qualified, you're automatically qualified to go out onto the fire line. Whereas other agencies have historically done, nope, you're trainee, you have to go with somebody. And so that's kind of where the waters get murky a little bit with the federal supplement positions, with some agencies requiring a higher threshold than what is laid out in there. And that's their right to do as a host unit. They can always require more than what's in the federal supplement. They can't require anything less than. So I know that's kind of a non-answer to your question, but it kind of, it is what it is.
And then, well, so the other half of that question is, are there kind of discussions happening with people who are heavily involved in the like lead read world about, you know, increasing capacity for trainees or kind of changing the mindset of not just like, do we need more people, but can we accommodate trainees more?
I would say hopefully people would, this will be a whole like kind of paradigm shift with getting it out of the federal supplement into the PMS 3.1. And Scott, I see you have your hand up, and Courtney, if you want to talk to this as well, as I know you guys are more into the.
Scott can talk to it. I was just going to say, yes, yeah. It is a part of what we're trying to teach in the course, but it's not with the lead reads. It's knowing who your agency administrators are in your agency and advocating to them, because they are the one that ultimately have the initial ordering and direction power. They are the ones that provide direction to an incident management team coming in, saying that they will staff reefs, that they will accept trainees. You know, when incidents go to complex, like most agencies hold a type 3 through 5 delegation letter for their ICs. That is where on the ENYO we have stated you will use trainees and you will encourage the use of trainees. So if you're having this concern, I would really suggest that you advocate to your local or national agency administrator group for pushing this.
Yeah, and I was going to add that part of the problem was we had lots of trainees, but not a lot of qualified. And without having an official task book, some of the people that would show up at our incidents as qualified had very little experience and probably weren't the best person at that time to be a trainee or a trainer to a trainee. So it's been a mismatch the last 20 years on what you're getting and how you're getting. And I can't tell you how many times I've been on fires where the qualified individuals are outnumbered by the trainees like 2 or 3 to 1. And I've seen a lot of leads in the past send out 2 trainees together thinking, well, at least they're 2 inexperienced people looking out and that's 2 sets of eyes, which is to me totally unacceptable. You're putting people at risk. So that's been a big part of the problem in the past. But now that we'll have a task book, there's expectations on what a qualified is going to have for experience. That'll help with getting more trainees out.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm Jason. I have to come in 3 times.
Okay, and then Matthew, I see your hand up.
Hi, good morning. Thanks. So I was thinking through, I'm trying to think how to articulate my question of the fact that REAF is now going to be in the 310 and then REAC is staying in the supplement. I wonder if that's going to have a chilling effect on people wanting to go out as REAC, or whether they'll just have to be ordered as REAFs, because REAC won't help them keep their REAF qualification, but you have to have a REAF qualification to stay as REAC, right? Do you see my question?
No, that's only the pathway into it is you have to be, let me pull up that page quick. So, and then I'll reshare it. And so we're all, so the required experience is you just have to have a satisfactory performance as either an ARC, READ, or REAF. And so you shouldn't have, once you have that and have REC on your red card, you should be okay to go. And Pete, please correct me if I'm wrong on
To
my
maintain your
understanding of that.
reef, maintain your reef, you reef.
Jess,
will
I was just
maintain
going to
your
say
reef.
that your sharing is not sharing if you were sharing. And maybe, yeah, once you share, we can restate that. Yep, see it now.
There you go.
Yep. So in order to get the REC qualification, you have to take all of these required trainings on top of anything else for the pathways into it. And then you need to have acquired experience of either an ARC, a READ, or a REAF. And that's how you initially get REC onto your red card.
Sure,
so-
but maintaining it, right? Maintaining it, maintaining your reef qualification. If REAC assignments don't maintain your reef qualification, then we'll have people wanting to be lead reads. Or will they just be ordered as reefs and active, right?
They should, whatever you're ordered as, that's what you,
Yeah.
sorry,
So
could you
I'm-
repeat that? I had a whole
So I'm
bunch
wondering-
of pings.
if READ coordinator assignments don't maintain your reef over the long term, does that have a chilling effect on people wanting to go out and be ordered as REAC if it doesn't also maintain your reef?
If maybe I can take this on. Yes, if you want to continue going out as a reef, but if you just want to stay a lead read or REAC, you just continue to take those assignments. If you want to be able to go out as a reef in the future, you will have to at some point take a reef assignment. It doesn't have to be a 14-day reef assignment, but it has to be something that your training officer will take as maintaining it. And that can be as little as 1 day as a reef. So you could finish, you do 12 days as the lead read on a fire and then go, hey, I just want to switch to a reef for 2 days. And then you're qualified.
And remember, the reef, you'll have 5 years to maintain that currency with it moving into the 310-1. But for the initial qualification, all you have to do is have required experience as an ARC, READ, or REAF in order to get that pathway open to you, as well as all of the other required trainings. Does that help answer your question? And thank you, Lynn, for making my word vomit sound more eloquent.
Just also to add that just said this is still being pushed to get into 310-1 in future years. So this issue may only be there for a year or two.
Yeah, I was just thinking out loud as to what the mix over the overall mix of people in the community as we go forward is going to be, and that's fine. We can move on.
All right, and then Jim, I see your hand up.
Yeah, as somebody that's currently working through and just had a AA task book signed off, I want to make a suggestion to the cohort managers and maybe Brian specifically to make that a topic for one of these calls. Getting a task book signed off is not the easiest thing. It's incumbent on the qualified people to, you know, put ink in that task book, to be responsible at the end of a busy day, at the end of an assignment. And there's kind of an art to it, and an art to getting it done right so that training officers accept it. So, yeah, as somebody who grew up in this world and transitioned, it's a little different bit of an animal. So.
Yep, wholeheartedly agree. I would say it would take more than 2 assignments to get your full task book signed off on, and that's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. That's good. You're learning, you're a trainee, you're figuring out what it takes to be qualified.
Broderick's been patient. Jess, Broderick, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, just kind of piggybacking off of what Lynn was saying of you could just go out, and get 1 day of REAF, 1 day on a REAF assignment to maintain your quals. I mean, if people aren't able to get out on full 14-day assignments, separate from the REACT side of things, just in general, like if you have another job, you're an AD, you can't go out on full 14-day assignments. Is there a minimum for assignment time for maintaining those quals?
No.
Okay.
Well, 5 year, are you talking about like years to get out? I think it's 5 years for PMS 310-1 to go out as that position, and then 3 years if you're in the federal supplement. But
mean
you
more
can
so, like-
maintain your qualification by going out on one incident as that position, and that counts within your 3-year time frame to reset that expiration clock.
I guess I mean like, within that 3 years, say I only get out, like I could only go out for like a 1 week assignment, is that sufficient?
It should be.
Okay.
1 day is
All right.
sufficient.
Yep.
Okay. All
That's
right,
what I'm
cool.
saying.
Thank you.
Like, say me as an archaeologist, within 3 years, I can only go out 1 day as an archaeologist on a fire. That resets my expiration clock.
All right. Perfect. Thank you.
I would
Yeah,
just
you're welcome.
I would suggest that you talk to your training officer, because this is where your training officer at your local unit has some their choice, and that unit can make some choices because it goes through the position committee for all of these, is whether things maintain. So talk to them and find out from them what you would need to maintain. They may be like 1 day is fine, but they also may be like, no, that's not quite, because you haven't gone in 10 years or whatever. So talk to them. We actually don't know what they're going to answer. Their answer might be that you might get a different answer from them. So they're the ones who make your card and get your card signed. So they hold the real answers.
Yeah, I will say
Got it.
generally for me, my training officer has said 1 day. So I'm speaking from my personal experience.
Thank you.
Folks, thank y'all. As we get towards the bottom of the hour, we know that Brian has had to drop off to get back to his NWCG duties, and we appreciate him breaking away to spend time with us. Definitely appreciate Jess wrangling this topic and being the face of it for us today. Jess and Brian's presentation will be posted on the Resource Advisor Cohort Google Drive. The presentation part of today's call will also be posted on the Resource Advisor Cohort YouTube channel. I want to circle back. Jess mentioned this early on. There is a REAC lead read training happening in April. The nomination or applications are out now, and that's posted in the chat. It's also posted in the Google Drive. There is a fire archaeologist class also happening in April. Both of these are in-person classes. Information on both of them is in the chat, is on the Google Drive. Just put you on the spot. You good to stay on for a couple extra minutes, or you got to bail at
I'm
hard
good to
stop?
stay on. I see Ryan put his hand up.
Yep. So the last thing I'll say before we get to the complete bottom of the hour is that we will be meeting again as the Resource Advisor Cohort, as we do every third Wednesday of the month. Next month, that's Wednesday, March 18th. We start at 8:30 Pacific time, and our topic next month is going to be a focus on the Bureau of Indian Affairs, starting with a primer on the agency and its mission. Considerations for resource advisors, archaeologists, READs, REACs, REAFs on BIA lands, tribal lands, and in working in areas with particular tribal sensitivities. Thank y'all for that. With that, Thank you to everybody. We'll go to folks that have their hands up. Jess, I'll turn control back to you and shut up.
Yeah, Ryan, please feel free to go.
So to clarify, to keep my READ and REAF trainee open, I need to get the task book open. Is that correct?
For REAF, READ is still in the federal supplement. REAF is
Okay.
in the PMS 310-1, and so you'll want to open up that task book since you're currently a trainee.
Okay, but I will not need to take the M280 class as of yet.
Talk to your training officer, because some of them, if you've taken N9042, are willing to let that be an equivalent, depending on your agency. Others want all of trainees to retake M280, so that is a training officer question.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's everybody. Unless there's another quick question, I'd be happy to field it right now.
Roderick had his hand up.
Sorry, that was a mistake. Thanks, guys.
Andrea?
Yeah, I have a quick question. This is a totally weird question, but only because I'm dealing with my taxes right now. But is there a way, because you can do your overtime if you're on a non-exempt position on a fire. So I can understand that a resource Fireline and a READ, or at least they would be non-exempt, but would a REAC be an exempt or non-exempt, so then you could charge that as your full overtime and not have to be taxed on that overtime? Does that make sense?
If you're ordered to an incident, there should be a way, because I know your Forest Service, in your time card to say that you're on an incident and then get true overtime.
No,
If
so
you're-
not that at all. So the new bill
Oh.
that was
I don't
passed
know.
last year said there's no tax on overtime, and it says in the incident business management thing which positions are exempt and which aren't. I don't know if that's even been determined yet for any resource advising positions or not.
I don't know the answer to that question. I'm sorry.
That was a real random question, but I thought since maybe I have more brains than in this group than me, so I thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. Sorry, I'm not a tax expert. All I know is that there's
Being a
certain
tax
ways in your
expert.
time card to make it so you get the true overtime.
It's not that.
Okay. Let's see, we'll go to Theo. You have your hand up?
Yeah, hey Jess. Thanks for the
Hey.
presentation. My question I put in the chat was, if you're a qualified REAF, but you're acting on an incident as an ARC, can you take on a trainee REAF that you're going to be tied to for the extent of your deployment?
Let's see.
So you're a qualified REAF, but you're acting as an ARC on the assignment?
Yeah.
And you want to take on a REAF trainee?
Yeah, if there's, if trainees are having a hard time getting out, I just figured that might be an option to get more.
Yeah, if it's a larger incident, they should have a set training specialist that's assigned to the fire. And so you could ask them what their comfort level is for that.
Cool. All right, thanks.
Yep, you're welcome. And then DeAngelis, you have your hand up again.
Yeah, I actually have a question this time. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just curious if this changes anything for AD status. This year, my previously sponsoring Forest said like, oh, you're not local enough, so we're not going to sponsor you anymore. I'm curious if that is like at all an effect of this change, or if there's anything else that's changing for AD folks.
That is the agreement that you have with whatever unit you are, so I can't speak to that. I'm sorry.
Is there anything, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there, if there's anything else that might change for AD people in general due to this change? I kind of doubt it, but okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'll
Jess,
just add,
this is Pete. I'll jump in on that kind of broader question of
Mhm.
changes for ADs. As I understand it, nothing with the move of REAF into a 310-1 position has changed AD level or compensation rates for any of the positions. Is that true, Jess?
Mhm. Yep, that's true. The AD
Okay.
pay scale is still the same.
Right. As an AD myself, I will say that for the first time this year, I'm a Forest Service sponsored AD, and for the first time this year, my host unit, sponsoring unit, told us that they had a cap, a maximum number of ADs that they would sponsor. So that's a new little twist for me personally. And so within the Forest Service, at least my forest and other parts of the Southeast, there's maybe some additional scrutiny being paid to overall AD ranks.
Yeah, that's the impression I got. That's how I ended up getting booted out.
Understood. Lynn,
Thank
you
you,
want to
appreciate
chime
that.
in on that?
Yeah, I'll just chime in that the positions, the REAF position, moving to the 310-1 doesn't have anything to do with how many ADs any of the agency are taking on or how to get your AD status. It's totally separate from that. And all the resource advising positions have nothing to do with that. So, but yeah, how it's changing within the Department of Interior as to how ADs are being hired with the new agency. I don't know. And I don't know that anybody knows at this point.
Yeah, and then I see a quick question in the chat regarding REC as a K or higher. The Resource Advisor Subcommittee did bring it to IBC, but that's what they came back as whatever pay scale the REC is currently at, which I think is J. Again, I'm just going off of the top of my head, so I apologize if that's incorrect. But that's what they came back as for it, so. But the request was to make it a slightly higher one since they oversee other positions, but that's what IBC came back with.
Yep. IBC, I know the word business is in there. That's
Incident
a separate
Business Committee
Yep. That's
or something like that.
That's a different committee within the NWCG structure that looks at the entire rankings across command and general staff areas, up and down, side to side, all that stuff. Thanks, Jess.
Yep. And they're the ones that help determine different pay scales for different positions.
All right. Hey, fantastic. I looked at the tally of participants at one point, and the highest number I saw was 327. I thought we had a record last call when we talked retardant. I think we broke that record this call. Jess, thank you. Lynn, thank you. Everyone that contributed within the chat, either as a question or a response, thank you. Thanks to the folks that are in the trenches making these changes benefit us as resource advisors, and more importantly, the resources that we care about. Closing comments, Jess?
Nope, I posted the flyers a couple more times. They're still taking nominations for both of them, but nominations are set to close, I think, early March. So make sure to talk to your supervisor, get permission, submit an application if those are courses you're interested in taking.
Perfect. Thanks, everybody. Hope to see you next month, third Wednesday.